right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Wednesday afternoon live stream for Week 14 of the 2025 fantasy football season. For over the course of the next hour until 7 p.m. PST, I'll be here answering questions in regards to starter sits, potential waiver wire pickups, trade questions, if in fact your league's trade deadline has not yet surpassed. Again, all things in order to help you set your lineups and, of course, get you one step closer to achieving our goal of capturing 2025 fantasy football championships. Hope you guys are doing well. Earlier today, we did in fact post my top 40 wide receiver rankings. If you guys haven't checked out that video yet and are curious regarding wide receiver position in regards to tomorrow's game, of course, you can go ahead and check that out. But we're obviously starting George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and effectively Jameson Williams. All three of those guys in my top 6 wide receiver rankings. Additionally, someone like Isaac Tesla could be a potential start under the assumption that Amon-Ra St. Brown is inactive tomorrow, but is still given the questionable tag. They're going to see if in fact he can go tomorrow. Probably will test out his ankle prior to the game. Either way, I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get into answering questions. Before I do, a quick reminder. Again, if you want to go ahead and get your questions answered, make sure you include your scoring format, whether you do type it in via the live chat and or specifically send it in via super chat in order to claim priority. As long as you include the context of your scoring format, how many teams are in your league, and any additional information I may require and are available to potentially provide that to me, it'll be easier for not only myself, but of course other members of the community to help answer your questions. Again, let's get into it, shall we? The first couple questions of this evening come in from the following. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on the bottom right corner. We begin with Adziller, who says, good at running back. Is it okay to drop White for Philadelphia defense for Week 15? Absolutely. Again, I think Rachaad White is droppable in almost every league, primarily because even in the event in which Bucky Irving was to get injured, theoretically speaking, Sean Tucker would take in all the value in which he is lost. Rachaad White, over the course of the last couple weeks prior to Bucky Irving's return, effectively lost the job there. And even though, yes, he is still considered a typical top 40 running back option, this most recent week had a receiving touchdown called back. Even though he has the capabilities of being an RB3 on a given weekly basis, I think in terms of your roster, if you're already good at running back, you don't perceive yourself starting White in the upcoming future, which I don't think you probably will either. Picking up Philadelphia's defense for Week 15 as they take on the Raiders, I think is an advantageous position you should put yourself within. So yes, I think that is a great decision to make as you prepare for your upcoming playoff slate of games. Thank you. Matt Glore sends in a question. Matt, hope you're doing well. Says PPR, I'm desperate with all capital letters. Okay, I can feel the intensity. Says pick up Tom Kennedy for tomorrow or trade a late 2027 third for John Mechie. Or trade a third for Greg Dortch. I have A.D. Mitchell and Marvin Harrison. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Kennedy plays for the Lions. Am I crazy? Let's see. Yeah, okay. So I'm not that desperate at the moment to where I think that is the pickup. So if we're looking towards the potential of making trades, technically speaking, I'd feel more comfortable making this trade. Especially if you're in need of a win this week. Am I trading for Greg Dortch? I don't think I am. Because, again, I'm not sure what the status of Marvin Harrison is exactly going to be. I do believe that Greg Dortch this week in specific is a more valuable prospect. But in the long term, I think Mechie's a better value play for the future of a dynasty format. So I'd honestly rather spend a third on, John Mechie in specific in comparison to the potential of a Greg Dortch and or picking up Tom Kennedy, who I don't think is going to get much of any opportunity. Again, I know that Khalif Raymond is dealing with a bit of an injury, and obviously Amon-Ra is, so there does provide some opportunity there, but I don't think Tom Kennedy is going to be much of a difference maker in tomorrow's game. Thank you. All right, Court sends in a question. Says, I have Robinson on a bye. Okay. Flex is looking like Metcalf, Allen, or Pitts. Thoughts? I'm not too keen on ever playing Keenan Allen anymore. I think those days have kind of gone past us. The early half of the season obviously was all Keenan Allen. As a late, very little utilization. I think DK Metcalf, incredibly touchdown dependent. I think Kyle Pitts is probably your best play in the circumstance. Atlanta takes on Seattle. Seattle this season has been a relatively solid matchup for the tight end position, even though on a weekly basis, we're not typically finding like great plays of late from tight ends against that defense. I think what Hawkinson was able to provide last week, even with a third string quarterback, gives me enough confidence to where with Pitts, his target opportunity in 2 of the last 3 games with with Kirk Cousins, almost called him Christian Kirk again, with Kirk Cousins under center is enough to where I would justify playing Kyle Pitts in that circumstance. Court Mini, thank you. Head shop had sent in a question, but nothing was attached to it. No problem. Okay. Full PPR, yeah. Even in that case, full PPR, I think it makes it that much more of a stronger position to play Kyle Pitts at the moment. Thank you. Let's see here. Where are we at? Let's scroll up here, see some of the questions y'all have to ask, and let's get to them, shall we? All right. Evans was dropped yesterday. Should I use my number 1 priority on him? You know what's interesting? Earlier today, he was limited at practice. So if he doesn't return this week, there's a potential chance he returns next week. The fact that he's already practicing. So I wouldn't mind the idea of ripping that number 1 waiver priority in order to pick him up under the assumption I need wide receiver help. And I'm already a designated guarantee to make the playoffs. I feel like that's a great move. Drop Farrah Barron for Myers. Yeah, Myers has been the number 1 kicker in fantasy. I think his fantasy point contributions speak for themselves. So yeah, I'd go in that direction for sure. Let's see here. Half PPR, Ferguson or Strange this week? I think I'd rather play Strange. Again, with Parker Washington's injury, I think it provides a little bit more potential for upside there. Additionally, on top of it, the Lions have been pretty stout in terms of stopping opposing tight ends over the course of the season, so I'm going to lean towards Strange in this circumstance. Gainwell or Montgomery this week, 14 league. I mean, it depends on scoring format ultimately. I think if it's a full PPR, I probably consider Gainwell the better option. Otherwise, if it's a standard or half PPR, I think Montgomery's the play. Houston was dropped yesterday. I have New Orleans for week 16 and 17. Should I pick them? I mean, looking at the upcoming schedule for the Houston Texans really doesn't bother me outside of this week. Again, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs isn't the greatest overall matchup, but then you get Arizona and Las Vegas in weeks 15 and 16. Week 17, again, against the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not even too concerned about that either. I think they probably win that game handily as well. So if it's me personally, I'm picking up the Texans and I'm firing them in weeks 15, 16, 17 under the assumption that you've already secured a playoff position and you don't need a win this week in order to get in. If you need a win this week, then perhaps you go to an alternative defense effectively. Thank you. Picked up Mike Evans. I have Ibuka on my bench, starting Jacoby Myers and Higgins if cleared. Yeah, that works for me. Higgins should be cleared. I would be very surprised if he's not able to clear the concussion protocol as of this week, but of course, we'll keep an eye on that as we get closer. Bulldog here to answer chat. Okay, sounds good, Bulldog. Thanks, man. Loop or Boswell? I would still lean towards Loop. I know this most recent week was quite underwhelming, but he's been a really solid kicker since the return of Lamar Jackson, so I'll still lean in that direction of Loop there. I have the Bills defense. Should I drop for Eagles, Saints, or Miami? As of this week, taking on Cincy, I would feel a little bit more comfortable in the direction of playing the Miami defense this week and then the Eagles next week and then the Saints the 2 weeks after that. So honestly, if we're looking towards the future, any of these 3 defenses are great in comparison to the Bills who have Cincy this week. Then they have New England the next week. Again, I'd rather just have like a Miami Eagles combo going forward here. All right, let's see here. Christian Spring says, full PPR wide receiver start Jacoby Myers or Christian Watson. I have Strange as my tight end, and I'm nervous to start 2 Jaguars players. No, I can understand that. But again, against the Colts, under the assumption that Sauce Gardner's out, I think that secondary would be a little bit thinned out, to which it does provide a little bit of opportunity there. I'm going to go ahead and throw up today's rankings from the wide receiver rankings video. If you guys haven't checked that out, I'm going to go ahead and throw that up on screen right now by eliminating all that. So again, as of right now, I have Jacoby Myers as my number 24, Christian Watson as my number 19 in a half PPR scoring format. Just looking at the potential touchdown upside, both of them have an incredible potential for it. But as of right now, I would still lean towards Christian Watson because I still don't know the designation of Jayden Reed. If Jayden Reed gets into the conversation of playing this week, it then becomes a reality of like, how much is he going to play? And could that impact Christian Watson's overall opportunity share coming off of 10 targets this most recent week? Otherwise, I think both of them are fantastic options and both certainly do have touchdown upside like they have demonstrated for multiple weeks now. All right, let me go back to the super chats. There were a couple that were sent in. Let me get to those really quickly. Appreciate you guys being patient with me. All right, let's see here. Swag sends in a question. Thank you very much, Swag. Says, hey, Andrew, pick a wide receiver in a flex. I have Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Monangai, Charbonnet, and Marvin Harrison. I need a win. Vele, Mason, and Franklin are on the waivers in a half PPR scoring format. I don't think we'll need any of these available options off of waivers as of right now. unless we get into a situation in which Chris Olave misses, which would elevate Vele, or Aaron Jones misses, to which it would elevate Mason, I don't think any of these start in comparison to what you currently have on roster. If I'm playing a wide receiver, I'm leaning towards Terry McLaurin here. And then if I'm looking for a flex, I probably end up rolling Kyle Monangai in this circumstance. It's either Monangai or Charbonnet. Again, both of them are very much so touchdown relevant. Monangai scoring a tutty in 4 consecutive games, Charbonnet in 3 of the last 4. I think both of them are very much so in line for another week of 10 plus fantasy points, to which at this point in a half PPR, if it's my roster, I'll go Terry and Monangai in this week's swag. Thank you. Okay, let's hear. Akshay, what's up? How's it going, Akshay? Long time no see. It says pick one in a tight end. Pick one tight end rest of season. Strange, Schultz, Ertz, Pitts, Loveland, full PPR. Okay, in a full PPR scoring format, I believe the answer is Dalton Schultz or Bretton Strange. One of those two is the primary option. Now, I will say there is a consolation for this. Loveland, again, I'm not too keen on. Again, he's still in a little bit of a timeshare with Cole Kmet. Kyle Pitts could be that answer, but still, I don't really trust it. Once London comes back, a lot of the opportunity that is now going to Kyle Pitts will effectively disappear. So Zach Ertz could be that, wild card that ends up showing up and showing out in the event in which we get Jaden Daniels back sooner rather than later. Over the course of the games in which Zach Ertz has played with Jaden Daniels, over the course of like last, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9 games that they've played together, Ertz has scored like 6 receiving touchdowns. It's pretty ridiculous in that circumstance. So there is a chance that Ertz could be the guy in this overall equation. But for now, in the case of a full PPR, I go Schultz 1, Strange 2, Ertz 3. That's the order as for rest of season. Thank you. Matt Glore sent in a follow-up, says, long term, I don't care. Mainly looking for this week to win clinch. Okay, got it. If Marvin Harrison sits, would Dortch be better than Mechie? Absolutely, yeah. So if you're not really too worried about the long term, we're just trying to win this week, then I think acquiring Dortch is probably your best plan of action. In the event in which Marvin Harrison was to miss, Dortch would be an automatic top 36 wide receiver option, as I have him ranked earlier today. So I would play Dortch alongside of A.D. Mitchell and be very happy with the overall combination. So as of right now, yes, if the long term is not an issue, Dortch, A.D. Mitchell, make sure you get that trade done. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Andrew Mitchell, what's up? Says, what do we think about Evans' chance of playing in week 14? The fact that it was limited today was definitely an exciting thing to see. As to how much he practiced and whether he was in shells or what the overall consideration of said practice was, to be determined. In the event in which Evans is active, which I would be, again, the fact that he's practicing in a limited nature on Wednesday is a good sign. He's not coming off of any knee or hamstring injury. This is a broken collarbone that he's recovering from. So as long as the doctors give him the clearance, I'm sure Mike Evans is ready to go. And it's going to be a little bit of a different situation in comparison to Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, who over the course of the last couple of weeks have had some kind of ramp up performances prior to them being unleashed. In this case, I think Evans, as long as he's cleared by doctors, technically I think he's got a really good shot of playing, which at that point, Mike Evans clearing away becomes, in my opinion, the number one receiving option for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I honestly think at that point, it elevates Ibuka, as he'll have to take on lesser cornerback coverage, taking on number 2 corners in the upcoming matchup against New Orleans, which, we all know over the course of Mike Evans' career, he has had himself his fair share of showdowns against the New Orleans Saints, specifically, Lattimore, but he's not there any longer. So yeah, if Evans ends up playing, man, that's a really good pickup, guys. If it's still available in your league, scoop. 26 bands, what's up, brother? How's it going? Full PPR standard league, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, 1 tight end. Mahomes, Lamar. I'll play Mahomes this week against Houston, genuinely. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Devontae Smith, Higgins, and Watson. Okay, you got a lot of good options there. So if we're starting 2 wide receivers in this circumstance, I think as of right now, Devontae Adams is my number 1 and T. Higgins is my number 2 under the assumption that he's active. And then looking at running back, you have JT, Genty, Hampton. I will play JT, or you have Henry, JT, and Genty, Hampton. I'll play Henry and JT there as my 1-2 combo. Within the flex position, I probably in a full PPR play a wide receiver. In this case, I'm more than likely going to either play Smith. Do I play Smith or JJ? In a full PPR, I feel a little bit more comfortable rolling Justin Jefferson there. I think there's a decent chance that he can at least have himself a solid week here. If you're sketched out about it, I think the next best option in a full PPR scoring format is Devontae Smith. And then at tight end, you have Strange or Kincaid. If Kincaid gets a full participation of practice for the entirety of this week, I'd play him. Otherwise, I think just off of the limited nature of his participation would have me a little bit sketched out on his status for this week. So then at that point, I just play Strange just in case if there's a chance for re-injury and him leaving the game. I have McPherson and Seattle and Los Angeles defense. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter which defense you play. I mean, I'd prefer to play Seattle going forward. Thank you. Rhode Island, what's up, my man? How's it going? It says Washington, Miami, or Tennessee's defense, points for return yards. Okay, I think that makes it a little bit of a tougher situation considering I don't know the volume of return yards these teams are typically racking up within a given week. So you're going to have to give me a moment to really look that up. I think if in that case, you should probably make the decision based on what they've done of recent because I don't know at all because I don't play in any leagues that special teams yardage matters. But let me see what I can find in terms of stats that may give me a little bit of, kind of key in on what the situation is regarding the return game for these offenses. Let's see, or these defenses. So in terms of return yardage from Miami this most recent week, what are we looking at here? Washington. At that point, I don't think Miami is the answer. So let me go look at Washington real quick, and then I'll let you know. If I go look at the Commanders and their return yardage situation, let's see what they're dealing with recently of late. In terms of return yardage, Debo kick returns 114 and then 15 in that other game. Okay, that's pretty decent. Let's go to the week prior against Miami. What is Debo looking like in terms of return yardage? We had Edmonds with 93 and then also a couple return yards in terms of punts. Let me go back to the Detroit game for Miami. Okay, that's decent as well. Personally, looking at the available options, I know that the Miami Dolphins are my preferred defense of the week. Off of pure return yardage, I think your answer might in fact end up being the Tennessee Titans. Despite the fact that I do not like the potential of playing a Titans defense this week, I don't mind it against Cleveland. And I also think that Shamir DK's return yardage is probably pretty substantial compared to the field. So just off that alone, I'd probably just take the Titans there. Because if you're going to get yourself 1 point per every 10 return yards, what Shamir DK has done in the course of the last 5 weeks is substantial enough to which I'd play him there. Thank you, Rhode Island. Appreciate the patience. Okay, continuing on. We had a question from Raymond, who says questions in the chat. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate it. I've got May on bye. Would you rather have Cousins, Mariota, Stroud, or Tua? I'd rather have Mariota. If Jaden Daniels is active and playing and Mariota has to be benched, at that point, I'd position to play CJ Stroud this week. Thank you. Marvin Lewis sends it a question. Marvin, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Says, could you please give me a starting lineup in a standard scoring format between Caleb, Jones, or Purdy? Okay, between those three available, Caleb, Jones, Purdy, I'd feel most comfortable playing Daniel Jones because obviously Purdy's on a bye and I don't really love the idea of playing Caleb there. So Daniel Jones, Sutton, Wilson, London, Washington. Okay, so we've got a little bit of an issue here. London, we don't know his status. Washington, we know he's injured. So it'd be Sutton and Wilson, assuming that's Michael Wilson and assuming Marvin Harrison is out. In the event in which London plays and Marvin Harrison is in, then Sutton in London will be the answer. And then we move on to, we have Judkins and Genty and Harvey and Neal, Benson at RB. Benson didn't practice today, which gives me the indication he may miss another week here. Had a setback last week. So if I look at the available running backs you have on roster, I think Judkins and Harvey probably are my 1-2 combo there, to which then at that point, I'm looking for 2 flex options to where I'd go with Genty. And assuming if London's available, him or Wilson, depending on that circumstance. If that is not the case, I would probably position myself to flex Neal. And I'm probably in a full PP. Or you're playing in a standard scoring format, I'd probably end up playing Waller at tight end. Thank you. Appreciate it, Marvin. So from top to bottom, Jones, Sutton, Wilson, Judkins, Harvey, Waller, Genty, Neal. Only in the case in which Marvin Harrison is in and London is in, do I play London over Wilson? And then that makes the potential swap in a standard scoring format. Thank you. Okay, caught up effectively. Let's get to the live chat here. Again, I'm only going to be here until 7 p.m., guys. I appreciate it. Audio choppy, just refresh. Audio is gone. Refresh, guys. Mic is cutting out. Yeah, refresh. Refresh. Please. Smile. because I know for a fact that me personally on my end, there's nothing wrong with the audio, but if you guys can go ahead and refresh the stream, that'd be appreciated. Because I know sometimes YouTube has like a quality issue where sometimes it just like throws it off. We've experienced this in the past, but I do appreciate y'all letting me know. Okay, let's see what we have here in terms of some starts for this week. Follow-up question, Love or Brissett? I'd rather play Jacoby Brissett this week. Been waiting for years. Season is on the line. I've been watching for years, excuse me. Season is on the line. 2-quarterback league. Do I start? Okay, start 2, bench 1. Tyrod, Stroud, Brissett. If it's my team, I'm playing Brissett and Tyrod Taylor, genuinely. Hurts or Stafford this week? I'd probably play Stafford in this circumstance. Mahomes or Brissett? I got to play Mahomes every week. My lineup is Daniel Jones, King Henry, Bucky, Jay Myers, Higgins, Strange, and Ferguson, Harvey, McLaughlin, Browns defense, bench, Hampton, Henderson, Jay Warren, Ibuka, and Mike Evans. Thoughts? I think you've got a really strong team. I think the biggest question mark for your roster is purely just the health of Daniel Jones. I'd like to maybe have another quarterback on roster for the future if potentially possible, but in the event in which he stays healthy, the combination of King Henry, Bucky Irving, T. Higgins, Emeka Ibuka, Jalen Warren, Strange, Hampton eventually returning, I think it's a really strong team across the board here. Want to start Brissett over Daniel Jones. I would play Brissett over Daniel Jones if I was you, Los. Cleveland has always the most punt return yards this year. Tennessee, a good call in that case. Yeah, in this case, it would be fine. Start Burrow or Goff at quarterback. I'd rather play Burrow, genuinely. I have Burrow, Bucky, Chase Brown, Hall, Swift, London, Pickens. Let me see what you have here in terms of the circumstance. I now touched, okay. I know I touched on it yesterday, but I'm stuck in a standard league 6-point per thing. Bonus for 100 yards. I have Purdy, May, Diggs, Tet, and on the bye. Also have Burrow, Bucky, Chase Brown, Hall, Swift, London, and Pickens. Yeah, you got a really good overall opportunity here. In the event in which London doesn't play this week and you have an opportunity of theoretically playing Evans in his case or in his stead, I think that's a solid play. If this still is a situation where you have to drop one of these available options in order to accomplish it, that's fine if you drop Tet. But I still do think that there's a lot of upside there with Evans if he does end up playing this week. Otherwise, he will end up playing in the future, which would be nice. Let's see here. Didn't expect that much from your stream, time/effort. Oh no, you're good, brother. I just wanted to see I was personally curious as well as to what the return yardage was going to be looking like for those teams. I just was curious. But yeah, I know that Shamir DK in the past, because I've answered a lot of questions over the course of this season, as you would imagine, but I've answered a lot of them in regards to return yardage leagues. And as of late, what we've seen from Shamir DK is just, he might be a Pro Bowler this year just off of return yardage alone, which is, for a rookie, that's pretty substantial. Fantasy Football 44 says that a question. Thank you very much. Says in a 12-team full PPR, Parker Washington droppable? I would say so. Just depends on what you're picking up. Who would you say is the cuff to JT? Is that JT ownership roster? Okay, so here's the issue with Jonathan Taylor. In the event in which he was to miss, I would say it's a two-headed monster, because over the course of this season and over the course of his career, outside of that one season 2 years ago in which Zach Moss was the clear and away RB that filled in for him, last season we had a little bit of a running back carousel in Indianapolis in the absence of Jonathan Taylor. If you guys remember, it was Tyler Goodson and Trey Sermon who were rotating. I feel like in the absence, if he was ever to miss time, we would experience probably a very similar thing where it would be like Tyler Goodson, Amir Abdullah maybe as a combo, or Giddens and Amir Abdullah as a combo. Ultimately, it would be a committee situation to which I would really want no shares within, because they're all be like RB3s, low-end RB3s. But in the case in which you were trying to roster one, as of right now, I would probably venture to say it's probably Tyler Goodson. That would be like the clear and away early down runner. Otherwise, the receiving workload, third down utilization would all go to Amir Abdullah. Again, I would think it's a committee situation in the event in which he goes down. Start Harvey, Pierce, or AD Mitchell in the flex. As of right now, of those available, it's a full PPR scoring format, which in fact that is the case. I feel like Harvey is the best play of the bunch. Next would be Alec Pierce, then AD Mitchell afterward. As a Bucky owner, should I keep Tucker? I think in terms of just having the insurance policy available in case of a disaster, I think it's a good idea. Yeah. Thank you. Alrighty. We had a couple more super chats that were sent in. Zay or Rome. I mean, honestly, pick your poison, brother. Which way you want to die, by the Rome Adunze sword or the Zay Flower sword? Honestly, either way, it's a really tough situation. Between the two of them, I probably say that Zay Flowers has a safer floor, but Rome Adunze has a higher ceiling. Nicholas sends in a question. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Says half PPR, pick 2 wide receivers in a flex. Evans, if he is in and back, okay. Abuka, AD Mitchell, DK, Manungai, and Tesla. All right, so under the assumption that Mike Evans was theoretically back this week, I genuinely would start him, and I would probably start him alongside of Abuka because I think both of them would get an upgrade. Now, in the event in which Evans is not back this week, I think your next best option would probably be to play Abuka alongside of Kyle Manungai in this circumstance. Thank you. Andrew Mitchell says, in a spot, think I'll need a healthy wide receiver. Not sure who to drop. Rosters in the chat. Appreciate it, my man. Okay. So let's see here. Cool. Thanks for the help. Send a super chat, but got me. Yeah, you're good, brother. So yeah, in the case of which, looking at the roster, if you were in a pinch for a wide receiver this week, like we talked about yesterday, Tetaroa would theoretically be the drop because he is even though all of your players are great, he is unfortunately he's on a bye week. And when I look at the upcoming schedule in comparison to the rest of the field of wide receivers, I would imagine that he would probably be a lesser in comparison to the rest of the field of which you have available to you. So that would be your unfortunate casualty for the case of him being dropped in this circumstance. Otherwise, typically, I wouldn't be suggesting that this far into the season. Didn't mean to eat all your time, brother. You're good, man. You've been around this channel for so long. I'll answer your questions for an hour if I need to. It doesn't matter, brother. You're good. Start Christian Watson or Alec Pierce as a wide receiver too. Jake Ferguson or Juwan Johnson. I'd prefer to play Juwan Johnson there. As for Christian Watson and Alec Pierce, I think it depends on a scoring format basis. And it depends on a couple of factors in regards to the status of Jaden Reed. In the event in which Jaden Reed is not back, I'd play Christian Watson. If Jaden Reed is back, I'd play Alec Pierce there. Jordan, what's up? Jordan Campa says, I need some help in the flex spot. I have Christian McCaffrey on a bye and Travion Henderson on a bye as well. Did my OBS just crash? I know what it is. It's not a matter, guys, of YouTube. It's actually my internet that's bugging. That's why I was cutting out earlier. I think that's what it is. Because my OBS, my recording streaming software just crashed for about a half second there. So that's what it was. Okay. Anyway, so just a little bit of technical difficulties. Even though you have fiber internet, it just, sometimes it fucks off and doesn't do anything. Classic. No problem there. Looking at this overall situation. So if this is Nico Collins and Devontae Adams, right? And this is Devon Achane, and this is James Cook and AJ Brown, and you have Travis Etienne and T. Higgins. Like, in terms of my rankings, I'm going to play Devontae Adams. I'm going to play A.J. Brown. I'm going to play Devon Achane. I'm going to play James Cook. And in your flex position, I probably end up playing Nico Collins there as of the availables. Yeah. Over Etienne and T. Higgins. And obviously you play Stafford. Thank you. All right. Let me scroll down here. Slight lag spike. Yeah. My internet's absolutely just choking today. But it happens. It is what it is. What's up, Scotty? Says, hey, Andrew. I have Sutton, BTJ, Manungai. I need one flex and a half PPR. Genuinely, I feel most comfortable playing Manungai there. Thank you, Andrew. Bringing up Brissett now for Daniel Jones. The season is on the line. Yeah, I think Brissett is the better of the two, genuinely. Skip to me. Check the questions, please. Yeah, no problem, Captain. Let's see what you have here, brother. Ravens defense, okay, or pick up Commanders or Bills? I think the Ravens defense is perfectly fine, especially against Aaron Rodgers, the way that offense has struggled. I think the Ravens defense is actually premier as of for this week. Also, start Manungai in the flex. Other options would be Tootin or Keenan Allen. Yeah, you got to play Manungai. I think he's proven enough in the last 5 weeks here, in fact, to be clearing away an auto start going forward, for sure. Let's see. Dwayne Johnson is my tie in Seattle defense. Meyer kicker. Dwayne Johnson? You talking about The Rock, brother? What are we talking about? Chris Bentley, what's up? Says, Gibby, Chase Brown are starting. I have Montgomery on the bench. Is Pirine a good enough handcuff to back up? Yeah, absolutely. I think he is. Over the course of Pirine's career, whether he has been with Kansas City or Denver or recently, even his previous stint with the Bengals, when Joe Mixon had missed time and Pirine had to take over, he's proven that he can be a very valuable source for fantasy points. So yeah, I think Pirine's a great option in the case of which Chase Brown was to miss any sort of semblance of time here in the upcoming future. Unhell, what's up? Says, man, I lost last week by 1 point. That's 3 times this year that I've lost by 1 or less. That's just, look, here's the thing. First and foremost, that's incredibly unlucky. So, I mean, maybe you need to buy a lottery ticket because that's like crazy odds. Second of all, in its entirety, I think, again, there's a couple ways in which you can change your league scoring or league format to which it could provide a little bit less volatility from that case. Again, there's a lot of leagues that just play head-to-head. Whatever happens, happens. There's some leagues that play where you have 2 games every week. First and foremost, the head-to-head matchup. And then additionally, the top 50% of teams in terms of points scored get another additional victory, while the bottom 50% get another loss. Or you could play in a league in which I play in with majority of my main leagues, in which the final playoff spot is determined by points for rather than your win-loss record. Because again, sometimes you just get unlucky. But that is unfortunate. Jay McLaughlin, what's up, brother? Says, yo, Andrew, preferred quarterback this week and playoffs, Lamar or Jaden Daniels? If Jaden Daniels is healthy, I'd be willing to give him some run. Let's just put it that way. Otherwise, I mean, if we're talking about this week, if you told me Jaden Daniels is active, I probably... They're playing against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's so bad, guys. They're not good at football anymore. Pittsburgh has fallen to the wayside. I mean, I'm going to hope that Lamar can do it. If it's my team, I'd probably throw Lamar out there. I'd give Jaden Daniels a week to warm up, assuming he even plays. Thank you. Let's see here. Vidal or Monangai if Hampton doesn't play. But here's the issue. Okay, so we would have to know that Hampton's not playing by Friday to make the decision. In the event in which that's the case, Real James, I would play Vidal genuinely. You can drop a Dunze. Nobody wants him. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody will take him. Sad machine. You know, the thing is, if you drop a Dunze, he'll probably go off that week. So if you want to do everybody a favor and drop a Dunze just so that he can go off this week and help us, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Or I could drop him for everybody and y'all can succeed in that aspect. Superflex Mariota, Cousins, or Shadir Sanders sit 1. I would like to play Mariota and Cousins in this circumstance if I have a choice. Thank you. Mr. Hockeyman says, in a full PPR, pick 3 between Pierce, Sutton, AD Mitchell, Debo, and Tesla. I think Pierce, Sutton, and probably Debo are my top 3 options. I feel like Debo could lessen his rank in the event in which we have no Jaden Daniels there. So in the event in which that's the case, maybe we just go Pierce, Sutton, and an AD Mitchell. So Tesla, not too interested in comparison to those alternative viable options here. You think there's any chance that Amon-Ra plays tomorrow? Yes, I do think there is an actual good chance. Again, earlier today, the Lions organization already designated players out for tomorrow's game so they can elevate other players from the practice squad. Effectively, in doing so, they did not designate Amon-Ra St. Brown out yet. So there is a chance that he could end up playing tomorrow because he is still sitting with a questionable tag rather than him designating him out. So I think he's probably going to try to give it a go prior to the game, see if his ankle does have any sort of setback in that circumstance. I would like to assume even if he does play, we get a completely lesser version of his normal self, because without that ankle being at a full capacity, I think his overall stability and his ability to kind of make those cuts within the slot position definitely get affected. But there's a chance, definitely. I have Zay and Rome. I could drop 1 and add Evans off the IR. Also, Wanda Robinson, Michael Wilson are now available. What should I do? I mean, genuinely, if we're talking about rest of season, I'd rather have Wanda Robinson than Zay Flowers or Rome Odunze. And if Evans ends up playing starting this week, I'd rather have him than Zay Flowers or Rome Odunze rest season. If Marvin Harrison misses any semblance of time, I'd rather have Michael Wilson over Zay Flowers and Rome Odunze. So in this case, everything looks like a better option. But if you need players to start this week, considering Evans, again, is up in the air, Wanda Robinson's on a bye, and Michael Wilson's contingent on Marvin Harrison's status, you may have to stick with these two until we get further information from the practice reports. Drop Vidal for Mike Evans. I wouldn't do so yet unless you don't need the running back support. If you don't have Hampton, you don't need to have a potential Vidal play this week, which he could very easily be a top 15 running back in the event in which Hampton's out. That's the only reason I would keep him, is just in case you might want to start him in that circumstance. All right, there were a couple super chats sent in. I'm going to go ahead and address those really quickly. I appreciate y'all. Again, a quick reminder, we've been live streaming here for about 38 minutes. I'm going to be here until 7 p.m. sharp, and then I'm going to have to log out. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. I will be back tomorrow with quarterback and tight end rankings, and then subsequently after the Thursday night game, I'll be here answering questions via live stream. And then, of course, we'll have Hidden Gems on Friday we'll effectively have a live stream on Saturday afternoon. And of course, like we do every single Sunday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. So if you guys weren't able to get your questions answered today, hopefully we can address those in the future live streams, days, etc. Thank you. Twisted Folks 7629 says, I have Herbert and T-Law. Love is on the wire. I'm 7-6. I'm in 4th place, and with 3 teams at 6-7, but higher point totals. So basically, you have to win in order to fend them off, is what you're saying. In order to make sure you don't. Okay, so assuming all 3 of those teams win, you'll be in trouble. Okay, leaning towards T-Law, but considering Love. If it was me personally, I would also be very much so interested in playing Trevor Lawrence over the bunch. Herbert against Philly, I don't love, especially coming off of the injury. Especially considering I don't know his status. Until I get an idea as to what his overall official status is going to be, Trevor Lawrence would be the answer over Love. In the event in which we can get a full participation of practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday out of Herbert, I would probably play him instead. Thank you. Blazin 540 sends in a question. Says, is Jayden Reed worth a pickup? I would say that he is and isn't at the same time. It depends on what you have available and how many teams are in your league. Because let me see what you have on roster. It says, drop Brian Robinson for Chuba Hubbard? Yes, immediately. Drop Worthy for Jaden Higgins? I would be willing to do so as well. Or hold Worthy from Kansas City, desperate for wins. I know they're desperate for wins, but when you look at the upcoming schedule for the Kansas City Chiefs, are we entirely excited about what Xavier Worthy would have to face? This week he has to take on Houston, which is an incredibly difficult matchup against Lassiter and Stingley. Then the next week they take on the Chargers, which is another incredibly difficult matchup. Then you have Tennessee week 16, which I think is a fantastic play. And then Denver week 17, which is another difficult matchup. So you would only hold him on roster for one singular week, to which I feel like Jaden Higgins might contribute at a greater capacity to your overall efforts going forward. As for the availability of picking up Chuba Hubbard, I think you should pick that up. As for Lamar or Burrow, I'd rather have Burrow this week in my lineup. And Jaden Reed is very much so dependent on a couple factors. Like, would I rather have Jaden Reed or Jaden Higgins? I'd rather have Higgins. I think Jaden Reed's overall opportunity share over the course of his career makes me scared of his overall utilization. I've mentioned it on multiple occasions, and I'll say it again. Jordan spreads the love in Green Bay. And the reality of the situation is, with him spreading the love as much as he does, it makes it difficult to trust Jaden Reed. If we go back to last season, Jaden Reed was an awesome wide receiver contributor. He had a great year overall, was the ranked number 29 wide receiver in a PPR scoring format. But, unfortunately, to close out the year, his target opportunity did not surpass 6 targets a single time since week 5 and beyond. That was his cap. 6 targets is as much as he's going to get, and unless he scores a touchdown or has a huge yardage count, he's pretty much in trouble, which is, if we continue to see that be the case, it could be of value, but ultimately just not valuable enough to start over some alternatives. All right, continuing on, there were a couple questions here from Siobhan Walker, 3826. Thank you very much. Says, Big Dog, I need three season on the line. Jaden Higgins, Michael Wilson, John Mechie, Franklin. I think this is an easy play. I think it has to be Franklin, Higgins, and Wilson. Even in the event in which Marvin Harrison plays, I'd still play Michael Wilson, Franklin, and Higgins over Mechie in this circumstance. So Higgins, Wilson, and Franklin are my plays this week with the season on the line. Says, I have Kincaid and McBride. I'd have to play McBride there, but I'm considering Kincaid as a flexible play. Says, then I have the Saints for the playoff schedule, but should I drop Caleb Williams or Tesla for the Tennessee defense? Are we picking up and playing Tennessee's defense? I think it depends on a couple factors. Like, if you were to drop Caleb Williams, what are we picking up effectively? Who do we have as the backup quarterback or the starting quarterback in order to kind of compensate for that? Because, yes, Caleb Williams has to take on Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, then San Francisco. I don't mind those matchups ultimately. I think they're decent, assuming he gets rushing utilization. But as of late, obviously, it's been a very run-heavy approach for this offense. Let me see if I can find a previously asked question from you. I can't. Everything is 2014. So yeah, under the assumption that you don't see yourself or perceive yourself playing Caleb, I'd probably drop him, because if Amon-Ra's out, I might just play Tesla ahead of Franklin tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking for now. Appreciate it. Alrighty, continuing on, we had another question that was sent in from the real James. Says, tight end Parkinson instead of Strange. Waller this week. I don't think I would play Parkinson over Strange. Over Waller, I definitely consider. Considering, again, Waller's overall opportunity share isn't as potent as we would like it to be at this current stage of the season. But as of right now, I think Brenton Strange should play. Again, the Indianapolis Colts matchup is as advantageous as it gets to go ahead and give you some perspective as to just how many yards they've allowed to opposing tight ends of late. This most recent week against the Houston Texans, they allowed, 71 yards and 9 receptions to opposing tight ends. The week prior against Kansas City, 7 catches for 68. The week prior against Pittsburgh, 10 catches for over 100 and a touchdown. Tennessee combined for 6 catches, 76 and a touchdown. Gadsden went for 7 catches, 164 and a touchdown. McBride, 8 for 72 and a touchdown. Again, there's been many of tight ends over the course of weeks 6 through 13 that have found success against the Indianapolis Colts. And considering Parker Washington's absence due to injury, Strange will be the best play. Adam Amar says, skip me, big dog. Did I really? Oh, I did. It's because I scrolled down. My apologies, Adam. Check chat. Beard looks good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Apologies for skipping that. Did not see the question. It says, fighting for bye week. 3rd place, locked in the playoffs. Guy ahead, same record, has 40 points on me. So you're going to have to hope he loses, because otherwise I don't think you're going to be able to clear that gap unless something happens drastically to his roster. I've got buys, so flex a tight end question. Ferguson, Tesla, Waller versus the Jets, Jaden Daniels or Baker Mayfield. Okay, so here's my thought process on the matter. As of this moment, I would feel most comfortable playing Tesla under the assumption that Amon-Ra doesn't play tomorrow. Otherwise, I think you have to play Jake Ferguson. Next, between Jaden Daniels and Baker is going to be determined by one factor. In the event in which Mike Evans plays, I play Baker. Otherwise, I'm playing Jaden Daniels, assuming he's available. Jaden Higgins also on waivers. At that point, in the event... Ooh, wow, that's actually an interesting one. No, I'd still play Ferguson. In the event in which Amon-Ra's playing and Tesla's not as valuable, at that point I just play Ferguson. I don't need to make that swap still. I mean, I might drop Waller to pick up Higgins for rest of season purposes, but I don't think you need to at that point. Thank you, man. AJ, what's up? Says questions in the chat. I'm 11-2 because of you. Thank you. Congratulations, brother. I'm going to assume that's a lot of you as well. It's not all me. Lamar and Goff. I'd rather play Lamar, genuinely. Unless Amon-Ra's active tomorrow, I think I have to play Lamar. Javonte or Hall, I'd rather, as of right now, play Breece Hall this week. Sutton or Evans, in the event in which Mike Evans is active, I genuinely would play him. Brissett or Nix, I'd rather play Brissett. Ferguson or Strange, I'd rather play Strange. Drop 2 out of 3, Pearsall, Marks, or Reed. I would drop Pearsall and I would drop Reed. I think Woody Marks is the most valuable option going forward. Thank you very much. I have Rice, Sutton, Myers, Evans. Appreciate it. Yeah, you're good to go there, AJ. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. John Carlos sends it a question. Says, stuck between 3 flexes, Zay, Mechie, and Devin Neal. It depends on scoring format, I think. Ultimately, because you played in a full PPR back in 2024, I'm going to assume that you still play in a full PPR. So in the case of this situation, Giancarlo, how do we go about... Oh, okay, it says also Franklin or Jalen Moore. Okay, so let's first and foremost figure this out. If you're still in a full PPR scoring format and Alvin Kamara is out this week, if that's the situation, I probably play Zay Flowers if it's a full PPR. If it's a half PPR, I'll take Devin Neal. Next question, Troy Franklin or Jalen Warren. I'd rather play Jalen Warren in this circumstance. Leaning towards Warren, I agree. I feel like I got to see Franklin. Yeah, you're fine. I'd go with Warren as well. Thank you. Okay, we got about 14 more minutes before I'm going to be heading out today. I appreciate y'all being patient. Let's go ahead and let's see what the live chat has to say. Swallowed, what's up? Says Strange or Schultz this week, full PPR. That's going to be a tough one. I'll probably know by tomorrow in terms of the rankings that I post on the channel. So wait for those. And depending on what ends up being the higher rank, I think I'll probably end up suggesting Strange. But it's going to be close because Schultz has been incredible in terms of his reception counts of late. Sup, Andrew? Burrow or Mahomes? Andrews or Loveland? I'd go with Mark Andrews always over Loveland. As for Burrow versus Mahomes, I would probably, I know it's crazy to say, I think I'd probably play Burrow. How high is Tesla without Amon-Ra? Again, I presented it earlier today. I think he's relative. I think I might have him too high, but I think he's going to find value considering they're playing against Dallas, and Dallas doesn't have Trayvon Diggs this most recent week. I have Tesla as my number 28. I think he's a relatively safe play in that circumstance. And now, again, there are still a lot of wide receivers that are missing that could end up playing this week, which would effectively move him down. Like if Drake London's active, then I'd obviously rather play Drake London. If Amon-Ra is active, I'd rather play him. If Mike Evans is active, I'd rather play him. So there's still a lot of unknowns as for going into this week as to that, that could effectively move him down within the overall circumstance. But that's the range in which I have him projected. Dolphins or Browns defense? I'd rather play the Browns defense this week against Tennessee. Would you drop Zay Flowers for an option like Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, or AD Mitchell? I would, genuinely, yeah. I'd honestly either rather have Christian Watson or Alec Pierce. And looking at the upcoming schedule for Alec Pierce, I think I'd rather have him for long-term purposes. Assuming all healthy, Herbert, Daniels, and Brissett, I'd rather play Daniels. Let's see what else we have here. Andrew Mitchell sent a follow-up, says drop DK, Jaden Higgins, Jacoby, or Daniel Jones for Jaden Daniels. I have Purdy on a bye. I mean, if you think that dropping... Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to drop somebody for Jaden Daniels, considering we don't know if he's going to play, I don't know if dropping Daniel Jones is the correct position at the moment to commit to, considering, again, there's always the possibility in which if you drop him and then somebody picks him up and then all of a sudden Jaden Daniels is not available, we're in trouble. I would like to try to keep DK Metcalf for the upcoming schedule against Miami, Detroit, and Cleveland, if potentially possible. I think Jaden Higgins is probably the unfortunate casualty in this circumstance, unless we get confirmation that Jaden Daniels is playing, to which then Daniel Jones can be the X that just gets cut out. Tennessee or Texans? I honestly rather have the Texans defense this week. Again, even against Kansas City, I feel like they're just an auto start every time out. Jaden Daniels, if he clears, or Brissett? Jaden Daniels. Anyone else feel like Andrew is one of the boys you talk ball with every week? Yeah, I've gotten that in the past. I'm glad that is what is conveyed. I do appreciate that. Thank you. That is as high of a compliment as it can potentially be given. Genuinely, Rob. Thank you. Siobhan Walker says, I have Burrow, big dog. So you would drop Caleb. Yes, I would drop Caleb in that case. Absolutely, for sure. J-Jet or Harvey in a PPR? I think I have to play Harvey there. I don't know if I want to risk it with JJ. Akshay says, would you wait one more week and drop Flowers for Watson/Pierce? Right now, full PPR, and if so, which one? Again, I'd rather have Pierce for rest of season if I had to choose between him and Watson. Yo, what's up? How's it going, brother? Real James says flex Sutton, Jordan Mason, Tesla, or AD Mitchell. I'd rather flex Sutton out of this group, regardless of scoring format. Sup, bros? How's it going, brother? Swallowed, what's up? Says, I have 4 quarterbacks in a 2 QB league in a 6-point per passing touchdown format. We have Jalen Hurts, Jacoby Brissett, Indiana Jones, and Jaden Daniels. Am I good keeping all of them? And who do I play if Daniels is healthy? In the event in which Daniels is healthy, in a 6-point per passing touchdown format, I think your play is probably Brissett and Daniels. I think that is genuinely the play in this circumstance. Because, yeah, I think Brissett has just been too consistent. 20-plus fantasy points every single time out in a 6-point per passing touchdown format. Let me go pull it up. I have Jacoby Brissett as one of my starters in a Superflex league as well. In a 6-point per passing touchdown league. 23, 20, 25, 23, 28, 23, 24. It doesn't get better than Jacoby Brissett at the moment. And then if we have the opportunity of playing Jaden Daniels against the Minnesota Vikings, I feel very confident in the idea in which he could find a lot of success there. If you wanted to give him the week off, I think the next best available option in this circumstance would probably end up being, let me see where I have Daniel Jones. I think the next best play after that would probably be, I'd probably go Daniel Jones there. It'd probably go Brissett and Daniel Jones if you weren't comfortable playing Jaden Daniels. I know Jalen Hurts is a solid play. I'm just scared. Jalen Hurts scares me, man. It's been a rough season. Hampton or Ibuka in the flex full PPR? Depends on a couple factors. First and foremost, is Mike Evans active? If he is, I probably play Ibuka. In the event in which he's not, I think Ibuka's matchup gets harder, to be honest, because he takes on tougher coverage, double coverage. That's kind of the determining factor at the moment, which is crazy. When can we start Omarion Hampton again? You can start him as early as this week, honestly. It's just a matter of, does he practice at a full capacity come this upcoming Saturday, considering they play on Monday. Flashy, what's up? It says half PPR, Genty or Pittman. In a half PPR scoring format, I would honestly rather play Pittman. In a full PPR, I think Genty's reception count could be something that I'm interested in, but I think Pittman is probably the preferred of the two. Thank you, sir. Have a great night as well. Good evening, Andrew. In a PPR 10-man league currently in first, would you play RJ Harvey, Waddle, or Pierce in the flex? I'd rather play RJ Harvey. Secondly, would you drop Pierce or Godwin or Montgomery for Chuba? Let me see something real quick. Curious what Montgomery's schedule looks like. They take on the Rams next week, then Pittsburgh, then Minnesota. I think I'd be willing to drop Montgomery or Godwin, genuinely. I think with Mike Evans potentially coming back, the value of Godwin all but disappears. So if anything, the most valuable drop in this circumstance is probably Godwin for Chuba. On Hell says, is Woody Marks droppable? I would say he's probably not, considering he's still getting himself 15 plus touches in 4 consecutive games here for the Texans. So I don't think he's droppable. I have Achane, Dowdle, Henry, Irving. Never mind, he's droppable. But I just don't want to drop him and have somebody else in your league in order to potentially pick him up and use him against you. But in the case of your current circumstance, you're going to play Achane, Henry, and Irving every game rest of the season. So you'll never need him. Juwan Johnson or Zach Ertz? I'd probably lean towards Juwan Johnson in that circumstance. Also, thanks for the help, brother. No problem, Angel. Let's see here. Mason or Monangai? Assuming Mason is a feature back. If Aaron Jones is out, at that point, I would probably play Mason. Otherwise, it's Monangai. Jefferson plays against Commanders. You think he goes off? I hope so, but again, I don't really trust 9 over there. Should I start Caleb, T-Law, or Mariota this week at quarterback? I think regardless of the situation, T-Law is the play. Love or Goff? I'd rather play Goff this week, genuinely. Unless they want to start letting Jordan Love do what he did last week every single week. The reality is they don't really give Jordan Love the opportunity to throw at that kind of a rate every week. Like, in the event in which they start to let him really get loose out there, he's fine. But then again, he also was taking on one of the top matchups at the wide receiver position against Detroit secondary that was beat up. Terry Arnold left mid-game. Ultimately, I think Jared Goff is the safer play of the two. All right, we're going to be here for about 5 more minutes, then we're going to have to close it out. I do appreciate y'all. Blazing will be one of the final questions here. Again, let's see here. It says, Jaden Higgins is recommended pickup out of the Jets receivers and Luther Burden. If we're talking about rest of season, I would say that Jaden Higgins is preferred. Otherwise, this week, I would rather play A.D. Mitchell over Jaden Higgins. It says Worthy will be picked up immediately, but I need the highest upside. If you're looking for the highest upside this week, I think it's A.D. Mitchell. That provides that with the 31% target opportunity share that he has seen in the last 2 weeks with Tyrod Taylor, and now has an opportunity of taking on Miami Dolphins matchup that has gotten torched by opposing receivers of late. So I think A.D. Mitchell, again, is that upside play in this circumstance. All right, y'all. So before we close out today's live stream, again, I will remind you tomorrow I'll be back with tight end and quarterback rankings for those of you guys who want the final word as to which way I'm going with that position. Additionally, live streaming tomorrow after the Thursday night game. If you guys want my all-encompassing rankings every single Thursday, you can always check out the Patreon, like I've mentioned before, by signing up via the 2025 Fantasy Football Champion tier. You'll be able to ask me any and all fantasy football related questions via the Patreon Messenger, so you don't have to send me questions via the chats that we have here via live stream. You can catch me off the live streams and still get those questions answered, and of course get rankings every Thursday and Sunday morning for all positions for both half and full PPR, and of course get exclusive Patreon Discord server access. For those of you guys who are not potentially interested in that and maybe want to go ahead and look towards a potentially more financially stable option, you could go ahead and get those rankings every Sunday by signing up today via Betr, making that first time deposit minimum of 10 and making a first time play within a real cash play. It's a $10 entry, and you'll be able to get those rankings every single Sunday morning from my email directly to yours, as long as you complete the 3 steps of using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of 10, and using one of those $10 that you deposit within a real cash play, picking more or less on 2-player statistics within an upcoming week here. And that'll be it. I appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. Again, I'll answer a couple more questions here, and then we'll head out. I need to choose 3. Full PPR, DK, Alec Pierce, Rome Odunze, Devin Neal. I'd probably play the 3 last options, Pierce, Odunze, and Neal, under the assumption that Alvin Kamara is out. Brissett or Taylor, 6 point per touchdown league. You'll probably set Brissett, LOL. Yeah, I have to play Brissett. I'm not playing Tyrod Taylor there, brother. I can't. Besides ETN in the flex, Sutton, Sharps, Alec Pierce, Debo Samuel, Christian Watson. I would be Sutton there out of the group. It's either Sutton or Christian Watson, probably in that circumstance. Maybe Alec Pierce. They're all very valuable, but Sutton's probably my immediate suggestion. Would you drop any one of them for Hubbard, Rodriguez, Bam Knight? I mean, I would be man. You've got a lot of really good options here, to which I might consider dropping Samuel to pick up Hubbard for the future of the season. I don't think that's a bad idea. Ray Barreras is in a full PPR double flex format. Godwin, A.D. Mitchell, Chris Rodriguez, Gainwell. As of right now, in a full PPR scoring format, I think A.D. Mitchell has to play. Now, the overall conversation of Godwin is dependent on Evans' status. In the event in which Evans is not available, I'll probably go Godwin and AD Mitchell. Otherwise, I probably end up playing Rodriguez and AD Mitchell. Thank you. J-Love or Tyrod Taylor? Genuinely, I don't trust Jordan Love. I don't think I've seen enough consistency. I'd probably go Tyrod Taylor there. Josh Holt says, thanks for the questions in the chat, PPR. Okay, this could be one of the final questions. With Rico and Hendo on a bye, I'm down to Kenneth Walker and Woody Marks. Even if Woody plays, would you start him or Mason Rodriguez or Bam Knight? I would play Bam Knight over him. I'd even play Rodriguez over him. In the event in which Aaron Jones was out, I'd play Mason over him. But as of right now, it would go Bam number 1. If Aaron Jones was out, Mason 2, then Rodriguez 3. Otherwise, switch Rodriguez and Mason. But yeah, Bam Knight is the next available. And especially considering Trey Benson did not practice today, leads me to believe that that is a fantastic move to pick up Bam there. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all. That'll be it for me today. We're going to go ahead and close out today's live stream. I'm going to cue the double helix. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have an exciting Thursday night matchup on our hands, and we'll be good to go. Again, appreciate y'all. Enjoy the outro. And until next time, have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys. Peace.